Welcome to our deep dive into today's top security news. We've been digging through articles, reports, and blog posts to bring you the most important updates and insights. We'll be focusing on ransomware attacks, cybersecurity predictions for 2025, AI and its impact on democracy, and a pardon that has really stirred things up.
Sounds like we've got a lot to cover.
We do. So let's jump right in with ransomware. It's not a new threat, but the scale of these attacks is reaching new heights. We're seeing companies like Grow AG, a huge German manufacturer, and Bico Technologies, a global specialist in compressed air technology. They've both become victims. And it's not just simple file encryption anymore.
No, ransomware gangs are getting much more sophisticated. They're not just encrypting files, they're stealing huge amounts of data and threatening to release it publicly, unless they get paid a ransom. In the case of Grow, the attackers claim to have stolen 100 gigabytes of data.
Wow, 100 gigabytes. That's a massive amount of information. And who are these attackers?
A group called Ransom Hub. They're relatively new, but they've quickly become a major player in the ransomware scene.
What makes them different from other ransomware groups?
Well, they're known for targeting companies with deep pockets and for exploiting vulnerabilities in cloud storage backups. They use that stolen data as leverage, putting immense pressure on companies to pay up because the potential damage from data leaks can be catastrophic.
Absolutely. It's a nightmare scenario for any company.
Yeah.
So what can companies do to protect themselves?
They need to implement robust cybersecurity measures, things like strong endpoint protection, regular data backups, and incident response plans. Employee training is crucial as well. Everyone needs to be aware of the risks and how to spot things like phishing attempts.
So it's a constant battle to stay one step ahead of the attackers. Let's shift gears and talk about some predictions for the future. What are experts saying about cybersecurity challenges in 2025?
Well, a lot of experts are sounding the alarm about the rising threat of AI-powered attacks.
AI-powered attack.
Yes, things like deepfakes, phishing scams, and automated vulnerability exploitation. Those are just the tip of the iceberg. It's like a dangerous arms race, where the very tools designed to enhance security, like AI and machine learning, are being weaponized by attackers.
That's a worrying trend, and I actually came across a prediction from John Ang. He's the CISO at Eaton House International Education Group. He predicts that combating AI-powered attacks, especially deepfakes, will be a major focus in 2025.
I think he has a point. Deepfakes are becoming more and more sophisticated. It's getting really hard to detect them. It's easy to imagine a scenario where a deepfake video is used to spread misinformation about a company or even manipulate stock prices.
That's a scary thought. So what can companies do to prepare for these AI-driven cyber threats?
Well, they need to invest in AI-powered security tools themselves to help detect and mitigate these threats. And they also need to develop strategies for responding to deepfake attacks and educating their employees and the public about the risk.
It's a lot to think about, and it really underscores the need for strong cybersecurity leadership. Cezary Pekarsky, the interim global head of ICS at Standard Chartered Bank, he predicts that 2025 will be a year of painful lessons, as early adopters of AI solutions grapple with securing these new technologies.
Yeah, a lot of businesses just aren't prepared for this. They're struggling to keep up.
So we need strong CISOs who not only understand the technical risks, but can also communicate effectively with boards and executives.
Exactly. They need to be able to explain the evolving threat landscape and advocate for the resources needed to stay ahead of the curve.
Which brings us to another concerning trend, burnout. The pressure on security professionals is immense, and it's taking a toll.
Absolutely. There was an article in CSO Online that highlighted a survey conducted by the Information Systems Security Association, or ISA. The results were pretty alarming. Almost 2/3 of the respondents said their jobs are becoming more difficult.
Why is that?
They cited things like increased complexity, heavier workloads, and the expanding attack surface, plus the constant pressure of compliance requirements.
So it's no wonder that a lot of security professionals are feeling overwhelmed and exhausted.
They really are on the front lines, facing increasingly sophisticated threats, often with limited resources.
So what can be done to address this burnout crisis?
Well, organizations need to create a supportive work environment. That means fostering collaboration, recognizing achievements, and providing opportunities for professional development. They need to prioritize the well-being of their security teams.
Absolutely. Yuan Shilong, the CISO at AIA, he believes that in 2025, the focus of cybersecurity leadership will shift towards nurturing individuals who can effectively communicate risks and strategies to senior executives and board members.
I think that's a crucial shift. We need to move beyond that traditional view. of cybersecurity as a purely technical domain.
It's about understanding the business impact of cyber risks and
Well,
integrating security into the fabric of the organization. It's about making cybersecurity everyone's responsibility. And speaking of broader implications, let's talk about AI and the future of democracy.
that's becoming a really important conversation. There was a workshop held at Johns Hopkins University where experts from different fields discussed how democracy can be reimagined in the age of AI.
It sounds like a fascinating workshop.
It was. They grappled with some really big questions about the potential benefits and risks of using AI in democratic processes.
It's a complex issue.
It is.
On the one hand, AI could potentially enhance transparency and efficiency in government. But there are also concerns about bias, accountability, and the potential for manipulation.
There was an article that explored the possibility of AI writing complex laws.
AI writing laws.
Yes, it's a thought-provoking idea.
Yeah.
Could AI create more equitable and efficient laws, or would it lead to machines dictating our legal framework?
I don't think anyone has the answer to that yet. But it's a discussion we need to be having now.
I completely agree.
Now let's move on to a news story that's generating a lot of discussion. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has granted a full and unconditional pardon to Ross Ulbricht, the creator of the Silk Road.
You're talking about the dark web marketplace.
That's right.
That's a significant development. The Silk Road was a hidden online platform where users could anonymously buy and sell illegal goods.
Drugs, weapons, stolen data.
Exactly. Ulbricht was arrested in 2013 and convicted on charges of money laundering, hacking, and conspiracy to traffic narcotics. He was sentenced to life in prison.
Which many people consider to be an extremely harsh sentence.
They did.
This pardon has sparked a lot of debate.
It has.
Some people applaud it as an act of compassion, arguing that Ulbricht's sentence was excessive. Others are concerned by the message it sends regarding cybercrime.
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It raises questions about the balance between punishment and rehabilitation, the role of technology in facilitating illegal activities, and the evolving nature of cybercrime.
It's definitely a development we'll be watching closely.
Absolutely. But for now, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue our deep dive into the latest security news.
I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back. Let's dive a little deeper into those cybersecurity predictions for 2025. One that really caught my eye was from Dominic Grundon. He's the CISO at Smile Technology. He has some really interesting insights into how AI might impact the threat landscape in the coming years.
Oh yeah, Grundon's well respected in the industry. What were some of his key predictions?
Well, he believes that while traditional threats like ransomware, digital extortion, and social engineering will continue to increase, they will also become significantly more sophisticated. He predicts that malicious actors will increasingly leverage generative AI to enhance the efficiency, effectiveness, and even the attack vectors of these threats.
So basically, the bad guys are getting better at using AI to exploit our weaknesses.
Exactly. And Grundon went as far as to say that most of these AI-enhanced threats will originate from the deep and dark web, where cybercriminals are actively discussing and even monetizing the use of large language models and synthetic media for malicious purposes.
It sounds like we're entering a new era of cyber warfare,
Yeah.
where the battle lines are drawn in algorithms and data.
It's a fitting analogy. Irfan Amer bin Maud Ismail, the Chief Information Security Officer at Aeon Bank, shares a similar perspective. He predicts that the cybersecurity landscape in Southeast Asia will be heavily influenced by AI-driven threats, leading to a greater emphasis on cloud security and adherence to stricter data privacy regulations.
It makes sense. As more of our lives and businesses move online, the stakes just keep getting higher. What else did Ismail predict?
He also expects to see corporate boards taking a more proactive approach to cybersecurity. They'll be asking tougher questions about cyber resilience and data security, ensuring that cybersecurity strategies align with overall business objectives. It's a shift from cybersecurity being seen as a purely technical issue to a core business risk.
It's about time. What other predictions stood out to you?
Michael Saw, the regional CSO for Asia Pacific at Siemens Energy, believes that cybercriminals will increasingly exploit personal data and AI to carry out even more sophisticated attacks. This combination will enable more realistic and effective phishing and spear phishing campaigns, further blurring the lines between what's real and what's fake.
So they're not only using AI to create new threats, but they're also using it to leverage the vast troves of personal data that have been stolen in previous breaches.
Precisely. Imagine AI-generated deepfakes used to impersonate trusted individuals, tricking unsuspecting victims into handing over sensitive information. This raises a critical point. Human vulnerabilities remain the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain. No matter how sophisticated our technology becomes, social engineering tactics will always pose a significant threat.
It's a sobering reminder. At the end of the day, it's still humans who click on those links, open those attachments, and fall for those scams.
Which is why cybersecurity awareness training is so crucial. It's about empowering employees to identify and avoid these threats, to be skeptical of unsolicited requests, and to verify identities before granting access.
Absolutely. It's about creating a culture of security where everyone understands their role in protecting the organization.
Yeah.
But building that security culture can be challenging, especially when you consider the burnout and stress that security professionals face on a daily basis.
You're right. We've touched on the issue of burnout, but it's worth exploring further. The pressure on security professionals is immense, and it's taking a toll on their well-being. What can we do to address this?
I read an article that suggested encouraging open communication and collaboration within security teams, creating a safe space where individuals feel comfortable sharing their concerns, seeking support, and celebrating successes together.
That's so important. When you're constantly facing down threats, it's easy to feel isolated and overwhelmed. Having a strong support system in place can make all the difference.
The article also emphasized the importance of empowering security professionals to take ownership of their work and feel a sense of agency in their roles. It's about fostering a sense of purpose and accomplishment. And of course, recognizing and rewarding achievements is crucial.
Absolutely. A little bit of gratitude can go a long way. It's not just about monetary rewards. It could be as simple as a sincere thank you or a public acknowledgement of a job well done. Creating a culture where security is valued and appreciated can make a world of difference.
It's about fostering a sense of community and shared purpose. This ties back to the need for strong leadership within cybersecurity teams. Leaders play a crucial role in shaping the culture and setting the tone for their teams.
Couldn't agree more. Leaders need to lead by example, demonstrating a commitment to work-life balance, encouraging open communication, and fostering a supportive and collaborative work environment. That's how we build a resilient cybersecurity workforce, one that's equipped to face the challenges ahead.
Speaking of challenges, another story that caught my attention involved the Python package index being targeted by malware. The Python package index, or PyPI, is a repository of software packages used by developers around the world. Well, what happened there?
Attackers injected malicious code into seemingly harmless software packages, turning them into Trojan horses. Developers often rely on these packages to add functionality to their applications, and they might not realize that they're inadvertently introducing malware into their projects. It's a sneaky and effective tactic.
And once that malware is embedded in an application, it can spread rapidly, potentially infecting countless users.
Exactly. It's a reminder that we need to be vigilant about security at every stage of the software development lifecycle. From vetting third-party libraries to implementing robust security testing procedures, we need to be proactive in our approach to safeguarding our code.
This incident highlights the importance of strong network security measures. Speaking of which, did you see the report about Cloudflare blocking a record-breaking DDoS attack?
I did. DDoS attacks are becoming increasingly sophisticated, and attackers are using botnets networks of compromised devices to amplify their firepower.
The attack Cloudflare mitigated reached a staggering 5.6 terabits per second. That's an insane amount of data.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the kind of damage that could have caused if it had succeeded.
It would have been catastrophic.
Yeah.
This attack underscores the importance of having multiple layers of defense in place to protect our critical infrastructure from firewalls to intrusion detection systems.
It's a constant battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
As soon as we develop new defenses, the attackers find new ways to circumvent them.
It's the nature of cybersecurity. It's an ever-evolving field. We need to be constantly learning, adapting, and staying one step ahead. Speaking of staying ahead, did you read about the security vulnerability discovered in 7-Zip?
Yes, apparently there was a bug in the software that could allow attackers to bypass the Mark of the Web security feature in Windows. The Mark of the Web is designed to protect users from potentially malicious files downloaded from the internet, but this bug allowed attackers to slip those files past the security check.
It's a reminder that even seemingly innocuous software can contain vulnerabilities that can be exploited by attackers. We need to be diligent about keeping our software up to date, patching security holes, and using multiple layers of protection.
It can feel overwhelming at times, like a never-ending game of whack-a-mole, but it's important to remember that we're making progress. We're developing new tools, improving our defenses, and raising awareness about the importance of cybersecurity.
Exactly. This podcast is a great example of that effort. It's about helping people stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay ahead of the curve.
Knowledge is power. And by understanding the threats, we can better protect ourselves and our organizations. Speaking of knowledge and understanding, let's turn our attention to a story that highlights the potential dangers of AI being misused. Did you see the article about Ghost GPT?
Yes, the uncensored chatbot that's allegedly being used by cybercriminals for malware creation and scams. It's a chilling example of how AI can be weaponized. What's particularly concerning is that Ghost GPT is supposedly readily available on cybercrime forums. Researchers from Abnormal Security even tested it, asking it to create a phishing email mimicking DocuSign, and it did a convincing job.
It's a wake-up call. We need to be thinking about how to regulate and control access to these technologies to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands.
Absolutely. This ties into the broader conversation about the ethical implications of AI development and deployment. We need to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly and for the benefit of humanity.
It's a tall order, but it's a conversation we can't afford to ignore. The stakes are too high. And speaking of high stakes, did you read about the vulnerabilities discovered in aircraft collision avoidance systems?
That was a disturbing story. It's a stark reminder that critical infrastructure is vulnerable to cyber attacks, even systems that we rely on for safety.
The article mentioned two specific vulnerabilities. One involved attackers potentially using software-defined radios to transmit spoofed location data to aircraft, potentially triggering false collision warnings. The other vulnerability involved the potential for attackers to disable the collision avoidance system altogether by impersonating a ground station.
Those are terrifying scenarios to contemplate. It underscores the fact that cybersecurity is not just about protecting data, it's about protecting lives. And it highlights the need for robust security measures across all critical infrastructure sectors, from power grids to transportation systems.
We need skilled security professionals to design, implement, and maintain these defenses. We need leaders who understand the evolving threat landscape and can guide their organizations towards a more secure future.
You're absolutely right. It's time to wrap up this part of our deep dive. When we return, we'll conclude with some final thoughts and key takeaways. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
It feels like we've covered so much already.
We have. It's a lot to take in. But as we wrap up, I'd like to circle back to something we talked about earlier. The idea of cybersecurity being everyone's responsibility. Those vulnerabilities in aircraft collision avoidance systems, that really brought that point home for me.
Absolutely. It's not just an IT issue, it's a societal issue. We all have a role to play in this.
So as we conclude today's deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What can they do to navigate this complex and constantly evolving threat landscape?
Well, first and foremost, stay informed. Stay up to date on the latest security news and trends.
Knowledge is power, and there are a ton of resources available, like industry publications and even podcasts like this one.
Exactly. And second, be vigilant. Don't just blindly click on links or open attachments. Always verify identities, check sources, and be skeptical of anything that seems too good to be true.
Trust but verify. It's an oldie but a goodie. What else?
Remember that cybersecurity is a team effort. It's not just the responsibility of IT professionals. Everyone needs to be aware of the risks and take a proactive approach to security.
We all need to be champions for a safer and more secure digital world.
That's a great way to put it.
We hope you found this deep dive informative and engaging, and maybe even a little bit unsettling, because sometimes a little bit of unease is what we need to spur us into action.
I agree. Awareness is the first step towards a more resilient and secure future.
Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and stay curious.